Peace and power. I am back. We are reading 41 Shades of Men, and we are in chapter 1. So I'm going to get into it. Give me one moment. I'm just putting the title in the. All right, so I'm just sharing this to my social media, of course. And we are in chapter 1. Let me see if I can edit this chart. Nope, it's okay. This is chapter 1. Why is it so big? Oh, baby. That's off my whole face. The banner. Mm. That's just what I'm saying. Why is it so big? I don't understand. Okay. Um, I am just sharing the chapter. It's so big, so I'm just gonna take it down. Now, we're gonna get into chapter 1. The software program of the human being. I do want to share this on my other platform. Because that's the purpose. We trying to make sure we still honoring Granny's name. We're gonna make sure we're sharing this content because what in Granny want us to know on what's going on with these men. And so we're gonna get right into it. This is chapter 1. We're gonna start as soon as I get done sharing this on YouTube. When I read, I like company and comments. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me make sure. Hold on. I want to make sure that I shared the first one on my page first. Because if not, we'll share that one first. Yep. So let's get back over here. This is chapter 1. All right. So we're getting this shared. Then we're gonna move on. Like I say, we're gonna log out. I'm learning social media is not the place for me to just be hanging. I need to come here, comment, do whatever, and then go ahead and log off. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so we got to share it to social media. Chapter 1, the software program of the human being. In theory, there is nothing the computer can do that the human mind cannot do. The computer merely takes a finite number of operations upon them. The human mind can duplicate the process. And that's a quote from Isaac Asimov. The greatest lie ever told to women is that men and women are equal. The same and or men are capable of doing what women can do. Not only is this a lie, it is a deeply ingrained and strongly held belief of women. As a matter of fact, it is detrimental for women to hold the belief that men are superior to them. When you look out into the world and you see chaos, you may ask yourself, why does the world look this way? Would you be offended if I said because women refuse to accept their rightful position on the planet Earth and are allowing males to destroy the world? Men often scream, you let him. It may sound like the typical blame women for everything that males scream. However, This has much rationale behind it. I didn't want to cough in y'all ear. First, we must understand the human makeup. You have no functioning human without the most important organ, the brain. The brain is the central processing unit of the human. It is the computer, and computers are programmable. Secondly, each area of the brain is responsible for certain functions. These areas could be smaller or larger in volume, which impacts the functionality positively or negatively depending on the sex. It is important for women to understand that male brains function differently from female brains. Different does not mean good or bad. However, it does mean optimum capability or reduced capability. Third, male brains are wired for competition, and women's brains are wired to preserve social harmony. These functions are determined by the volume of the orbital frontal cortex in tandem with the amygdala. Amygdala. This wiring gears men towards hierarchy, dominance, and superiority, and women towards convergence, partnership, and harmony. As a result of this propensity towards social harmony, women are more prone to promote the narrative of equality. Understand this social harmony is inclusive of the male. Women will try to achieve this state of equality with the male via the use of methods such as the push, pull, beg, and plead method. She pushes the male to achieve beyond his natural capabilities. She pulls him towards a more emotional connection. She begs him to do better and see her humanity. And she pleads for him to stop abusing her with his natural behavior patterns, which are toxic. Women are constantly observing the unacceptable behaviors of the male. However, they lack understanding as to why he behaves in the manners in which he does. They see through clear evidence he is prone to produce children and abandon them. He is prone to violence and lack of emotional intelligence. Women push, pull, beg, and plead for him to stop these behaviors. Even though they clearly see he has these deficits and the push, pull, beg, and plead method is failing, he is still seen as ranking above. Even though they clearly see he has these deficits and the push, pull, beg, and plead method is failing, he is still seen as ranking above and superior to them. The sad thing about this is it is women themselves defending these deficits and encouraging them to persist. She is doing this blindly because women have been socially conditioned to these deficits as traits of a high level being. She's also conditioned to believe that women have been placed on this earth to sacrifice their lives to assist them with these eternal deficits. As a result, from a position of powerlessness, women began to use the push, pull, beg, and plead method to convince the male to rise to a level of humanistic equality. The truth is, there's no such thing as equality, and the male is not superior to women. Women, once upon a time, never pushed, pulled, or begged males to do anything. They kept them in check and allowed nature to take its course. However, in more modern times, women have been manipulated into seeking equality. The catalyst for women seeking equality was the creation of an artificial system which placed her economically, politically, and socially behind the male. This gave her the illusion that she should be fighting to prove she was equal to who was actually behind her. Women are moving in error, though it is not entirely their fault. Globally, women have largely been kept out of educational and critical thinking arenas. According to research, though girls have better literacy, a literary ability, and executive functioning, two-thirds of the 960 million illiterate people are women. As a result, women specifically are unaware of how the brain and mind functions. The brain is a hardware computer that is programmable and uses software. The building blocks of this software flow in the following fashion. Thoughts become words, words become sentences, sentences become paragraphs, paragraphs become philosophies, and philosophies become actions, and actions become habits, and habits become character, and character becomes destiny. If you have acquiescence to New Age thinking, you are probably familiar with the book The Secret and the concept of the law of attraction. These concepts purport the way you think affects your reality. The way you believe affects your reality. All you have to do is change the way you think because that is why you experience what you do in life. Have you tried this? Did your life change for the better? Most likely, the results were negligible. People have tried to implement this concept into their lives with very minimum results because it leaves out a critical element. The reprogramming process is not simply just changing your thoughts, it is about changing the core program. The brain is a computer and a computer runs on software. This software is a program of the brain that is not just a simple thought. The software of the brain is philosophy, which is coded by language, in this case, English. And in these modern times of lackadaisical efforts, we have created a modern day Tower of Babel. We are now too lazy to define the words we utilize every day and instead make up our meanings to words that predate our existence. Therefore, to ensure this book conveys the message it is intended to convey, we will define within these paragraphs the meaning of critical words being used, and it is important to know the denominative definition of the words we use because these words are the building blocks of the software program that is creating your undesirable reality. Google defines philosophy as a theory or attitude held by a person or organization that acts as the guiding principle for behavior. Guide is to direct or to have an influence on the course of action or on someone or something. And theory is a supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something. Idea is a thought or suggestion as to a possible course of action. So, in other words, you hold ideas or suggested thoughts about things that direct or have an influence over your actions and behaviors. Influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. The second context of the definition is a person or thing with the capacity or power to have an effect on someone or something. In other words, the ideas and theories you hold about things have a direct power over your behavior, actions, and decision making. These ideas are the program software of your mind, which is philosophy. Several philosophies of the world have brainwashed and socially conditioned women to sacrifice themselves ultimately for the male survival. These anti natural philosophies were created and pushed by men. The ideas within these philosophies are not your ideas. They did not originate with you. They are unnatural and manufactured and completely fabricated. If you were raised a Christian, this line should sound familiar to you. Train a child in the way he should go, and when he grows old, he would never depart. This is Proverbs 22:6, highlighting indoctrination. To indoctrinate is to teach a personal group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. To accept a belief uncritically means you are to accept a belief without asking questions. Belief is defined as an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. To believe means you have accepted concepts, ideas, and information as true without investigation. The root word for indoctrinate is doctrine, and a doctrine is a belief or a set of beliefs held and taught by a church, political party, or other group. You were given these ideas by your parents first and then reconditioned by an artificial society. You did not question your parents, you did not question your church, and you did not question any of these physiological, philosophical ideas that you strongly believe in. Yet, you hold strong to them and fight tooth and nail to keep them. You've attached your ego, personal identity to them, and became one with what has strong potential and evidence of being flat out lies. To teach, coach, and train is the process of programming the human CPU. Studies show when babies are born, they're actually acquired knowledge about language, food, preferences, and emotions. A baby's hearing develops about 24 weeks in the womb, which allows them to learn the sound of their mother's voice and be able to recognize her native language. Indoctrination is not nature, however, it is nurture. To nurture is to condition one to adapt to social expectations. This nurturing is intended to manipulate behavior and control human nature. We say human nature, however, is simply nature as animals and insects behave in a very similar pattern in natural environment. Humans are simply another species of animal. What makes humans different from other species is the prefrontal cortex. This region of the brain simply makes humans aware of their existence. So, what is critical urgency and need to control nature? The urgent need is felt by man because nature does not support the existence of males. In nature, males are expendable. Females rule, males failing at survival of the fittest. Males have to be the fittest to survive, and nature needs very few of them. Men do not like nature and feel that it is their ultimate duty to control nature's forces, and nature is known as Mother Nature, Mother Earth. This urgent fear of not surviving is why men dominate the realms of the philosophy. It is the key to controlling nature and the world. It is the key to ensure his survival. It is the reason why you were conditioned to worship man. Have you noticed philosophy, sociology, and psychology are the fields that don't pay much in this world? Why? Because they do not want to incentivize and encourage you to discover the areas that have allowed them to govern and control the world. These areas encourage you to put two and two together. When you research the history, you will find that women have been largely excluded from it and overshadowed by males. Men have used philosophy to control women's resistance to male insemination. Men have used philosophy to make women worship and pursue them. Men have used philosophy to confuse women and get them to voluntarily lower their defenses and allow them to run recklessly around the globe. They have used philosophy to make it acceptable to murder women and engage in sexual abuse of them and her children. How? Under the guise of sacrifice to God and marriage. King James is the author of the book titled Demonology. You've heard of him. He is also the author of the King James Version of the Bible. In demonology, all you had to do was accuse a woman of being a witch, and it detailed instructions on how to confirm if she was or not. The test consisted of tying together her hands and feet and throwing her in the lake. If she rose to the top, she was a witch and would be stoned to death. If she sank and drowned, oh well, guess she wasn't a witch. This was one of the philosophical ways women were murdered by males. Have you ever questioned why it was okay for Prophet Muhammad to marry 9-year-old Aisha, or why it's okay for families to sell their daughters to men under the idea of marriage? Have you ever questioned why society makes a big deal out of women desiring marriage? If you're heavy in these ideals, you most likely have not, possibly for fear of being ostracized or fear of burning in hell. This is because males have created an artificial environment ruled by philosophies they created to support their existence, fulfill their lower nature desires, and ensure their survival. They need women to believe in philosophies that make it easier for males to attach themselves to them, especially for what his biology wants him to get: youth. Currently in Afghanistan, the poor and resource depleted environment has families selling their prepubescent daughters to men in their 50s and 70s. Imagine a 50 and 70-year-old man buying kids to have sex with. This should infuriate you. Afghanistan is under Islamic doctrine. It is necessary for you to understand that the behaviors of people can be attributed primarily to the philosophical program or lack thereof. To more clearly understand what is and is not a philosophy, let's delve further into the meaning of theory, since it is the foundation of what makes up philosophy. To help you understand, it is worth repeating the definition of theory again, accompanied with another definition to consider: science. Theory is a system of ideas intended to explain something. Science is defined as the intellectual or practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Now, let's consider the following example of both science and theory. With science, you observe and see with your own eyes that women give birth and experience pain in the process, right? You also see that she has a menstrual cycle, right? If you don't see that, I'm going to assume you're blind. If you do see that, congratulations, you have 20/20 vision. You qualify to fly in an aircraft. You qualify to fly in aircraft. This is the observable behavior of the natural and physical world which you are a part of. This is science. This is fact. So if that is science, what is theory? Theory is a system of ideas used to explain something. So what system of ideas is used to explain the science of women experiencing pain during childbirth and menstrual cycles? The idea that Eve sinned against God and was cursed as a result. The first question you should be asking here is, whose idea was it to explain this science in this way? The second question you need to be asking is, what sin? Are you afraid to ask questions? If you are, could it be that you were bullied by your parents or religious institution to not question God? Remember, indoctrination is taught a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Critical thought is the process of involving the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. What does it mean to judge? To form a conclusion about something. Judge not lest you be judged. Does that sound familiar? Matthew 7:1. Another Bible verse telling you not to think and form rational conclusions. They were successfully able to indoctrinate you with the use of fear. Fear is the number one control mechanism. Do you understand that asking questions is the process of critical thinking? To think critically, you must ask who, what, when, where, and how questions. When you ask these questions, as you naturally would as a child, you were conditioned not to. We will not continue this fear pattern in this Aquarian age of enlightenment, knowledge, and technology. Okay? In my Cardi B voice. So, I will explain again. Whose idea was it to explain science in this way? Would women condemn and castrate themselves? Is the Bible or Quran written by women? Are any of the books headed by women? No, no, and no. These were the ideas of men. What is sin? Human nature. Why is human nature a sin? Because it does not favor the male limits. It does not favor the male and limits his nature of what he desires to do for his pleasure, ego, and survival. Because nature favors women, the male must control nature and the woman. How did he do this? Through the use of violence, fear, and philosophical indoctrination. Theories are the foundation of philosophy. So, what type of theory is Eve sinning, and what philosophy is the foundation of? Religious philosophy. Religious philosophy is not based in fact, nor is it based in nature. It is an artificial program intended to govern and control human nature for male benefit. So, who are the creators of this program? To answer this question in more depth, we must understand that Maslow's hierarchy of the human needs. At the very base of the pyramid exists the physiological needs of all humans and animals. This is our primal animalistic nature. The animal nature is the core and foundation of the human makeup. It is our raw and natural self, not contaminated by artificial program. Humans are animals first, foremost, and primarily. In the root of the word primal and primary is prime. Primal is defined as relating to an early stage in evolutionary development, original, initial, early, and two, essential and fundamental. Primary is defined as the chief importance, principal, main, key prime. Prime is defined as first importance, main. The main part of our makeup is physiological, and that comes first before anything. This is nature, Mother Nature. Our physiological needs consist of food, water, sleep, sex, excretion, and breathing. These things are essential to our existence. When these needs are not met, people will get them met by any means necessary. By any means necessary means to forego the concept of morality, i.e., what is right or what is wrong to do. Morality does not exist at the base of the pyramid. The next step on the hierarchy is security. At this age, personal security, health, resources, and property are a focus. Also, security or of morality exists here. You may be wondering, how can security of morality exist here? If I previously stated that morality is not created at the bottom of the hierarchy of human needs. This is simple. Before you incarnated on our planet, your parents and society began programming you with philosophies and morality, which begins to become a part of your ego. Individual identity. Under the first law of nature, the law of self preservation exists for the protection of one's ego, self identity. The next step is love and belonging. If you have attended the Love, Men, and Manipulation Decoded workshop previously, the 5 components of love workshop, you know this stage is not love and belonging, but emotional bonding and belonging. At this stage, your ego slash self identity needs validation. You need to feel as if you belong somewhere. These are lower nature, lower self, self preserving deficiency needs. At the top of Maslow's hierarchy of the human needs is self actualization. This is where the least amount of people exist on the pyramid and where the least amount of conscious and unconscious functioning happen within a single person. This stage is where problem solving, morality, and philosophy becomes the priority of a human's existence. Philosophy is created at the self-actualization stage, and morality is a byproduct of that creation. Those people push the philosophies they create down to the people at the bottom of the hierarchy of human needs and programs the neural networks in their brain. It is said that humans only use 10% of their brains. The brain is more capable than humans are consciously aware of. This is in part due this in part has to do with the reality people are on autopilot. The brain of the average person is not used to think. To think is to employ one's mind rationally and objectively in evaluating or dealing with a given situation. Most people do not think. Most people do not ask who, what, when, where, why, and how questions. They do not investigate. They do not process information through objective lenses. They simply believe what they hear or what makes them feel good. Therefore, what you believe is the act of thinking. It is nothing more than pre-programmed pathways and neural networks established by the software known as philosophy. The English language is important to understand for those who have it at their primary language or native tongues. This is important as language is the building block of the philosophical software, just as amino acids are the building blocks to proteins and life. When you understand science and break down DNA, you will understand, like your English language, that there is a language and sequence used to build the foundation of human life. All languages have a system, a structure, and a structure to it, just as C++, an object-oriented programming language used by software developers, or the amino acid sequence for an essential protein used by your biological system. Since this book is written in English, you will need to understand the basics and the fundamentals of this programming language for the development of the software philosophy on which your human computer runs. This is why I have focused on providing the denotative definitions for the most important words in this book. The English language is a language constructed with the use of morphemes. Morphemes have a prefix, base, and or suffix. Each of these individual components of a word has a meaning. Ism is a suffix. This suffix is defined as a distinctive practice system or philosophy, typically a political ideology or an artistic movement. It is important to note that ideology is a key word in the definition of ism. Ideology is defined as a system of ideas and ideals, especially one which forms the basis of economic or political theory and power and policy. Another important word is ideal. Ideal is defined as satisfying one's conception of what is perfect, what is most suitable, existing only in the imagination, desirable or perfect, but not likely to become a reality. Any word ending in ism is a philosophy or a system built around a philosophy, which is a system built around ideas of a perfect or more suitable world. The isms and philosophies that you are programmed with are isms and philosophies created by males. So, I have a question. Who do these isms and philosophies make a perfect and more suitable world for? Males. Racism is a philosophy or a system built around the ideas of race, practices, and capital. Capitalism is a philosophy or a system built around the ideas of capital. Socialism is a philosophy or a system built around the ideas of social practices. Other isms include communism, feminism, spiritualism, egoism, classism, and fascism. The suffix ist is defined as a follower of a distinctive practice system or philosophy, typically a political ideology or an artistic movement. Do you consider yourself a capitalist, a socialist, a feminist, or or anyist? Then you are a follower of someone else's ideas that govern your behavior. You are running on someone else's program. Patri is a prefix that means father. Adi is a suffix that denotes a relationship to an action, process, state, or condition. So if you are patriotic, you are in a state of father processes and conditions. Father represents the male. Another significant suffix is archy, which is defined as abstract nouns for types of rule, government, or social influence. This means a monarchy, an oligarchy, and a patriarchy are forms of rule, government, and or social influence that has power over human behavior. Patriarchy is defined by Google as a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Patriarchy, defined by the definition of both the prefix and suffix, is a father rule, government, or social influence. According to US News, despite white men comprising only 31% of the population, 97% of our Republican elected officials are white and 76% are male. Of our Democratic elected officials, 79% are white and 65% are male. Based on the numbers of this government structure, the United States is a patriarchal society because the father male has rule, governmental control, and male social influence, which also means that the philosophies which govern the behaviors of the citizens are patriarchal in nature. As a woman reading this book, please recognize that you are not a male. Therefore, your behavior being completely influenced by males has taken you away from what it means to be a woman. The religious philosophy mentioned earlier is a patriarchally patriarchally rooted. Patriarchally rooted. Christianity is part of the three Abrahamic religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Abraham means the first patriarch. If you understand all the philosophical programs are male created and male masculine dominant, you will understand the core of the program when you begin to understand the nature of male and his psychology. The male sex does not love, excuse me, he does not think, move, or operate on an abstract concept of love. The male's nature is self-preservation. He cannot operate outside of this realm, the realm of the Lord's self. If you find a male who can, please understand he is of the extreme minority. The male is only concerned with his personal survival at all costs. Therefore, the rendering it extremely difficult for him to transcend this realm. To ensure his survival, the male's brain is quickly triggered to competition. This competitive mentality is the driving force behind his desire to place women and all things into submission. This fact of male nature is the foundation of all patriarchal philosophies and programs. The male has incorporated his being and psychology into all philosophies created by and governed by males. This is poisonous and detrimental to life, nature, and women. When women are infected with this viral software, she becomes a powerful weapon used to destroy herself, her offspring, nature, society, and other women solely for the purpose of ensuring male survival. Male survival of his physical, mental, emotional, and financial position on planet Earth. It is this programming software that has caused China and India to overpopulate their region with 70 million more males than females. It's caused and is causing major cataclysmic problems of a gender imbalance that has rippled and effect throughout the entire planet. Now you understand the programming software of the human mind. It is time for you to see that every single male who approaches you as a woman is approaching for a hidden agenda rooted in serving his survival needs. In this book, I give 41 different types of males and what they pursue, and women for their tactics, and some common phrases and lines you will hear. Now, for some, I will also provide links to a video, admissions, and evidence. Now, if you can be truly empowered to choose, now you can truly be empowered to choose better. No philosophy that goes against the natural flow of nature is a sufficient ism or system. They will all produce effects that will be riddled with problems for humanity, animal, and plant life. Nature is the true religion of woman. And this is from Priscilla the Queen Maker. So we just finished chapter 1. And chapter 1 was really good because it spoke about the definitions of isms and a lot of other words that are going to be used in the book. I am going to move on to chapter 2 and do the first chapter on the first male type. Give me a minute. I'm trying to disseminate this information as I read it across all my platforms. So I'm going to end the video, start a new one, and make sure this is flowing out, because if I don't do it now, it'll never get done. All right, y'all. That was chapter 1. And the chapter 1 was 41 Shades of Men, the software program of the human being. I'll see you in chapter 2. Peace and power, and I'm out.